LSU loses to Vanderbilt 31-24. A season with so much expectation is, for all intents and purposes, over. So what's left? We'll talk about it. Locked on LSU. Here we go.
You are Locked On LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked On LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making this your first listen. We're free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. And I don't think that's going to be a problem on this episode because for the first time since 1990, LSU loses a football game to Vanderbilt, actually on the same very field where Todd Kinchen looked like he had caught a miraculous Hail Mary, but was flagged for offensive pass interference. And LSU lost that game in 1990 to Vanderbilt. And now the Tigers, for the second time on the road this season and the second time in conference play, have fallen. And there is a very real question now about what is the floor for this team, a team that I, hand in air, was very high on, a team that I, hand in air, picked to win the SEC coming into this season. That absolutely now, with two conference losses, will not happen. Now you look and say, what is realistic for this team, considering what you still have staring you in the face? And it is ominous to think about what the floor may be for this football team. We'll get into that, certainly. I want to talk about this football game as well, out of obligation. I am in Nashville. Went to the stadium for pregame. My hotel is literally next to the stadium. 30 yards from the gate to the front of the hotel. So walked back over here to watch the game so I could do the post-game show here as we fire up and take my notes and do all the things that I normally do. And this was a game that unfortunately was defined by your defense's inability to get off the field. It was the thing we talked about and Brian Kelly talked about all week long. There's a Vanderbilt team that thrives on first and second down to put themselves in third and manageable. You have to avoid third and short. You got to win first and second down to make it difficult for them on third down. And LSU did that a lot in this game, but still allowed Vanderbilt to convert too often on third and long and then on fourth down as well. Two critical fourth downs. Vanderbilt's their second touchdown of the game was on a fourth down play when it looked like you would come up with a goal line stop. And then in the second half, the play that probably called the game, I would think, even though it wasn't technically over at that point, LSU had scored, gotten the 2-point conversion. They were within 3 points. Vanderbilt had the ball. Looked like you were going to get off the field. They have a 4th and 1 after A.J. Halsey forced the incompletion on 3rd and 1 with a beautiful PBU. Vanderbilt decides to go for it. It looks like you're going to sack Diego Pavia, and instead he scrambles free, gets a 10-yard completion. They would score a touchdown on that drive, the 21-yard Pavia touchdown where he struck the Heisman pose after. That put Vandy up 10 points. And LSU would answer with a field goal, but that would be your final margin. That was that fourth down play, for all intents and purposes, was the game. So I want to go through the game a little bit, but my guess is for most people, it's more about what do you do as a program? And I don't know that I have a great answer for you. And I'm sorry that I don't have a great answer for you, because I know a lot of people, after you lose to Vanderbilt, a season where you entered with national championship expectations, which I, hand in air, I believed were realistic. You went and spent what you spent in the transfer portal to build a roster around a fifth-year senior quarterback and a manageable schedule to think this is a team that could make a run to the playoff or the championship. And with a loss like this, now 2 losses here in the middle of October with 5 games to go, you would have to do something tremendously improbable to get this thing back back on track to even be in conversation for a playoff, which is laughable at this point. Because while one of my things that I often say is I don't like saying it's a must win until it literally is a must win, like win or your season's over. At this point, you look at LSU and you say mathematically, sure, if you win out, you'd be 10-2 and you'd make the playoff and you'd have great wins against A&M and Alabama and Oklahoma. But realistically, a team that can't go on the road and beat Ole Miss and Vanderbilt is not a team that has a great opportunity of beating Texas A&M and Baton Rouge, or a road game in Tuscaloosa, or even a road game in Norman, especially if John Mateer is healthy again. So this is a team that is teetering right now with 5 games to go. I'll run through some of that in just a little bit. Let's take a quick second here and kind of go through this game because we have to. I don't know that y'all are aching to go through this game, but let's do it. It didn't start terribly for LSU. You put together a scoring drive on the opening possession, which was the first time through 7 games that happened. LSU, to this point in the season, 6 games, 5 punts, and the interception against Louisiana Tech. That's how LSU had started every opening possession of the season, 5 punts and an interception. You put together a 12-play drive, netted you a field goal because when you got to the red zone, or when you got close, you had a sack for -3. Xavier Thomas had a drop, and on 3rd and 13, you blew a timeout and threw an incomplete pass, and you end up kicking the 48-yard field goal. But then they answer with a touchdown like they did time and again. They convert a 3rd and 4 with a 19-yard reception. They convert a 3rd and 8 with a 14-yard reception. And then ultimately Pavia would get the quarterback sneak for the touchdown. And they were up 7-3. In the second possession for LSU, a critical moment was when Tyree Adams got hurt and DJ Chester had to replace him. And listen, Tyree Adams has not been flawless this season, but he's still your best option at left tackle. And DJ Chester had to replace him, and it was pretty evident that throughout the course of this game, that was just going to be a real negative situation. Vanderbilt's defense on the day ended up with just 2 sacks, 5 TFLs, but 5 pass breakups, 4 quarterback hurries. Garrett Nussmeier was harassed the entire football game by an offensive line that just continues to be porous. And that really tends to be, I think, the root of everything wrong with this team. It's you went and spent a lot of money in the transfer portal in your defense. You added some skill guys and Barry and Brown and Bauer Sharp and Nick Anderson. And you probably should have been, hindsight, 2020, you probably should have invested more in the offensive line. And they tried. I mean, there were players they went after. There was an offensive tackle from Montana State they went after. There was Wilkin Formby, the right tackle from Alabama, was a guy who it looked like was going to be an LSU Tiger, and ultimately Bama matched, and he ended up staying there. But they tried. You added 2. You probably needed to add 3 or 4 out of the transfer portal on the offensive line. That much is evident right now. So Tyree Adams gets hurt. You do end up scoring on that possession. That was Trades Green dragging across the catch and run. What a great day for Trades Green. I mean, you look for micro wins in this game. I mean, it was a terrible game for LSU to lose by a touchdown, which should have been more. I mean, Vandy ran out the clock late, but they certainly could have added more. Pavia could have walked in there at the end and made this more, but you lose 31-24, could have been worse. But Trades caught 5 of his 6 targets for 74 yards and a touchdown. He continues to be awesome and something and someone to be excited about in the future, but I understand nobody is right now. But at that point, I mean, Trades' touchdown was the first play of the second quarter. So you're up 10-7, 1 play in the second quarter, and actually feeling okay because your offense is moving the football. But then Vanderbilt did what they did really for the entire game. They put together another incredible drive, 14 plays, 75 yards, chewed up 8:58 off the clock, and they converted in that one a 3rd and 6, Pavia 7-yard run. And that was the only 3rd down they faced until the quarterback sneak on 3rd down, which came up short. Then they scored on 4th down to go up 14-10. There was a couple of other gigantic moments. After that, it's 14-10. You're in it. You get flagged in illegal formation on DJ Chester. It was 2nd and 4. You throw a completion that's going to put you there. You're at the Vanderbilt 33-yard line. You throw a completion. It looks like you're going to be down around their 20. Instead, illegal formation. You're behind the sticks. You're missing a 52-yard field goal. Your defense, I mean, Clark Lee had the one stupid call of the day going forward on a 4th and 1, deep at his own 36-yard line. And You end up getting the sack. West Weeks gets the sack. You get the ball with a minute 43, short field, 36-yard line. All you can manage is a field goal. So it's 14-13. Looks like it's going to be 14-13 at a half. You're in the ball game. Your defense gets a stop, but you gave them 39 seconds, and apparently 39 seconds was too much for this defense today. First down, pass for 25 yards. They would end up kicking a field goal there before the half. And it's just all the things we talked about. Vanderbilt's ability to convert on third down. LSU missed a field goal. They give you a short field. You have to settle for a field goal because you can't convert. 2-minute offense at the end. You can't run out the clock enough because of the incomplete pass. You give them 39 seconds, and Pavia is able to get a field goal there at the end of the half to give them a 4-point lead. And then the ball to start the second half. So it looked like you were going to flip the script, and instead you let them go field goal, touchdown, and all of a sudden, just like that, they're up 11, 24-13 at the start of the second half. Perkins missed a great opportunity at a TFL on a 2nd and 2. It was just a bummer. And LSU gets the ball there for the first possession of the third quarter, and you did the thing that you felt like you were going to be able to do in this game. On a 2nd and 10, Xavier Thomas, after Nuss is running for his life because he was running for his life the whole game. Xavier Thomas, beautiful catch and run for 62 yards. Trey-Dez, 2-point conversion, boom. It's 24-21. It's a 3-point game. You got to get a stop, and then you can go take control of this game. But you couldn't get a stop. This is where they had the 4th and 1 that it looks like you have Pavia dead to rights. This is that 4th and 1 at their own 34-yard line. 4th and 1 at the 34. And I'm sorry, was that your 44? Was it their, forgive me, my apologies. Looks like it was at their 46. Right around midfield, 4th and 1, they go for it. Looks like you got Pavia dead to rights. Instead, he wiggles away, 10-yard completion. And then later in that drive, Deshaun Spears, when you're 2nd and 13, looks like it's going to be an incomplete pass. 3rd and 13, you're going to get off the field, PI from Deshaun Spears. Just too many negative plays, man. Too many negative plays for this team. And they're not good enough to overcome these negative plays. We saw it time and again. The opportunity to get off the field, allowing Vanderbilt to convert 6 times on 3rd down, 2 times on 4th down. One of those was a touchdown, costly penalties, and then they flipped the time of possession, which is the thing we talked about all week. A year ago, you controlled the ball for about 35 minutes. Today, Vanderbilt, 36-33 time of possession to 23-27 time of possession. The thing that I absolutely hated was on LSU's last possession. They get the ball with 4:40 to go. Xavier Thomas, loss of 3. 2nd and 13, Thomas gets 5 yards. It's 3rd and 8. Looks like you're going to have a first down. Berry and Brown drop. It's 4th and 8. You decide to punt. I understand with 2 timeouts and the 2-minute timeout with, a little more than 3 minutes to go in this ball game, that conventionally may seem like the right decision. I think that was a horrific decision by Brian Kelly. It's not with the benefit of hindsight. You were operating under the assumption that your defense was going to be able to do something they were unable to do for the bulk of this day, and that's get off the field. And they were unable to do that in that moment, and you saw Vanderbilt run out the clock, and you never touched the football again. I get it, but ask yourself this question. This is the way you should frame it. What's more likely to happen? LSU converting 4th and 8 or LSU getting a stop and getting off the field, getting the ball back to the offense, then the offense going down the field and scoring a touchdown? Too many variables therein. I thought it was a horrific decision by Brian Kelly at the end to punt the ball with 3 minutes to go and effectively let Vanderbilt run out the clock on you. So a terrible, terrible display for LSU today. God bless Garrett Nussmeier, who got banged around all day because your offensive line's atrocious. There's some other stuff, some notes I want to talk about. We'll do that as we continue. And I do want to talk about what's left for LSU, what happens with Brian Kelly, with the staff on a season that very clearly is going to end with without reaching the very lofty goals that you had. We'll get to that here as we continue. Locked on LSU, your team every day. Well, the weekend's here. This is the time when we look back and crown this week's MVP on Who Delivered, powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving more every time you order. These players deliver when it matters most, so let's break it down. I guess I can give a Who Delivered to Xavier Thomas at a moment when you had to have it. 62-yard catch and run when Garrett Nussmeier was running for his life. A beautiful individual effort that gave LSU an opportunity in this game. Unfortunately, just wasn't enough. And just like Xavier Thomas delivered for the Tigers, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season long, and you could save $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through 11/18. We're also brought to you today by SupplyHouse. SupplyHouse has been a great sponsor here for all of our shows and for Locked on LSU. And, when the opening whistle blows on a new repair, get your crew moving forward with SupplyHouse. Order today, see parts on your doorstep tomorrow. Over 280,000 plumbing, HVAC, and electrical items from the most trusted brands in the business. The real-time inventory and honest lead times keep you from punting projects, while their industry-leading customer service always has your blind side covered. Need parts fast for projects? SupplyHouse has next-day delivery. Talk about a game changer. Join the free Trademaster program today and score serious perks like priority shipping, lower prices, and a dedicated support line. Visit SupplyHouse.com to sign up for free and use promo code SHCollege5 for 5% off your order. That's SupplyHouse.com. Real people, real service. And one that I'm sure you're all going to love to hear in this moment. Today's show is brought to you by Rugiet Ready. So, what do you get when you have a bald eagle standing on top of a silverback gorilla riding a T-Rex? Confidence, pure confidence. If you're looking for something beyond the usual pill, it's time to meet Rugiet Go Long. It's exactly where Rugiet Go Long comes in. Not just another ED pill. It's a total game changer for confidence. The process is simple. Connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online, and if prescribed, your treatment ships directly to your door. If prescribed, your treatment ships directly and discreetly, to your door. Ready to level up your confidence in the bedroom? Head to rugiet.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 15% off your first order. That's rugiet.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for 15% off your first order. Make sure you use our code so they know that we sent you. Pretty sure that the conversation everyone's going to want to have right now is about Brian Kelly's future at LSU. And I think it is an appropriate question at this point. There were some things in this game as I look at my notes. You got points on the opening drive for the first time this year. Your third down D let you down in the first half. Tyree Adams being injured didn't help. Vanderbilt converted a couple of fourth downs, including a touchdown on fourth down. Jack Pyburn got injured in this game. We saw a lot of C.J. Jackson. Pyburn gutted it out, was in and out. First possession of third quarter, Vanderbilt's touchdown was a killer. They were able to go back-to-back there, which, by the way, is why, again, you always defer to take the ball in the second half. So you have the opportunity to go back-to-back, end of the first half, start of the second half. People question me on that all the time. Like, you saw it work perfectly there. Vanderbilt got a field goal at the end of the first half, touchdown, start of the second half, boom, 10-point swing. By the way, the first punt of the game came at the 9-minute mark of the fourth quarter. Incredible. I know the question most everyone's going to ask is, do you fire Brian Kelly? You're not going to fire him this week. And I don't believe you're going to fire him at the end of this year. I think a real question that could arise here for the remainder of this season is, depending on how things go, does Brian Kelly want to keep doing this? Now, I don't have any inside information. I don't know what to tell you. If Brian Kelly left Notre Dame to come to LSU to win a national championship, that's just a very obvious thing. I don't think this is some grand statement. I mean, he's coached a long time and he's done everything. He's won 300 games and he's been to the BCS championship. He's been to the 14 playoff. He's been, got Notre Dame twice to the 14 playoff. And he saw coaches at LSU with the resources they had build rosters and win championships. And it's not to say that it won't ever happen here, but it's why he's here. And I think, one of the things he said a couple of weeks back, when he was asked about having a GM in Austin Thomas, so I think they have tons of mutual respect. he made a comment about how it's why he never went to the NFL, was he never wanted to cede that control of the roster and wanted to be a developer. I do wonder if this was an all-in season for LSU and for Brian Kelly, where you had a fifth-year senior returning, the most experienced returning quarterback in the SEC, 4,000-yard passer, all that stuff. And you go spend $18 million on your roster. You go heavy in the transfer portal to go all in for this season. And now here you are on October the 18th, and you've lost twice, 2 road conference games, and you still have to play A&M, at Bama, at Oklahoma. Those are 3 games where you will most certainly be an underdog. So are you capable of winning games? Of course you are. I mean, you got a veteran, talented team. You're capable. It's just like you went on the road and won at Clemson and you beat Florida. And you say what you want about those games, but you're capable, certainly. I mean, a year ago, LSU was a dramatically less talented team than Ole Miss, and they won the football game. Vanderbilt's a less talented team than LSU, and they won this. When I say talent, I mean just think in terms of when April comes around and we see the NFL draft, like LSU is going to have double-digit players drafted. Vanderbilt will not. LSU is a more talented football team. You got outcoached and outperformed today. So it's possible that you could go out and win games the remainder of the way, but to be a playoff team, you have to win out, and there's nobody with a straight face who could tell you that there's any realistic expectation of LSU doing that. So I really wonder, one of the things we talked about before the season was, this was your all-in opportunity, and after this season, you're going to take a step back. You're losing your fifth-year senior quarterback, all of these mercenaries in the portal, Patrick Payton, Jack Pyburn, Mansour Delane, AJ Halsey, Berrien Brown, like all these guys are one-year guys. Josh Thompson, they're one-year guys. Bauer Sharp, they're all gone after this year. So you're going to take a major step back in terms of experience after this season, and it's natural to think you should regress. So does Brian Kelly want to stick around for that? I don't know. I mean, does he just say, deuces, I'm going to go do TV? Maybe after the season. Or does he want to come back? I'll tell you this, I can't see a reality where LSU fires Brian Kelly and eats his $50+ million buyout. I know Penn State just did it. I know Jimbo did it or A&M did it with Jimbo. I just can't see that reality for LSU where they're willing to fundraise to foot the bill for that buyout. So how do you move forward after this? I don't know. I think it's also very obvious that there have got to be, like, when you have a situation like this, and again, you still have 5 games to go, so we'll see what happens. But when you're 7 games in, you are what your record says you are. There's no hiding from that. Again, my hand's in the air. I'm being fully accountable here. And I mean, I'll tell you when I feel like I'm right, when I'm wrong. If I think they're going to be good, think they're going to be bad. I mean, I'm always transparent with y'all. But I was willing for the first month of the season to accept the explanation for why the offense was slow. Nuss's torso coupled with a new offensive line, really good defensive fronts from Clemson and Florida. I got it. Like I could accept that explanation as logical and say, okay, well, halfway point of the season, your offensive line should be better. Nussmeier's healthier. Like you're playing teams that aren't as good in their defensive front as Clemson, Florida. Like you should be better, and you're not. I mean, you are what you are. LSU scored 24 today. It's the most points they've scored against a Power 4 opponent. Prior to that was 23 against Louisiana Tech. Like you are what you are. I mean, there's some things that I liked. I loved seeing Harlem Berry today run the football. Berry ran 11 times for 55 yards with a long of 10. So he averaged 5 yards a carry. Durham had 7 for 59, but he had a long of 51. So he had 6 for 8 in the rest of his carries. But Harlem Berry was your consistent guy. Loved seeing him get double-digit carries. Loved Trades Green, the commitment to getting the ball early to Berrien Brown in this game. And there was things, Nussmeier, we talked about the decision-making and purging the turnovers. Nussmeier was super efficient today, completed 68% of his passes, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions, had a rating of 158.9. Like, Nussmeier was good enough today. Unfortunately, your defense wasn't. But back to the point, which is through 7 games, you are what you are. I mean, you scored 24 points on the road at Vanderbilt, and that's your high water mark against a Power 4 opponent or an FBS opponent. So you're just not a team that can score. And when you can't score with all the talent you have to look at your offensive coordinator. Like, you've got to look at Joe Sloan. I know Cortez is the co-OC, but it's Sloan calling plays. You have to look at Joe Sloan. I mean, part of it is a little nauseating because you look at the false start at the goal line by Donovan Green. I mean, you're talking about in that moment, you're down 10, it's 31-21. You're right at the start of the fourth quarter, and Sloan dials up a beautiful play where all the action's left, and they hit Xavier Thomas for a touchdown to right, but Donovan Green false starts. So now it's 2nd and 6. They go direct snap Juwan Johnson, incomplete pass on 3rd and 6 because Nussmeier's pressured. You end up kicking a field goal. Like, that would have been a touchdown. Would have been beautiful. You'd have scored 30 points in the game. But in any event, that's a microcosm of the season as a whole when you're looking at 7 games when you can't score. So, yeah, if Brian Kelly remains the coach, you're going to see offensive staff changes. And you should see offensive staff changes. You can't have this type of investment with a 5th-year senior. Caden Durham, your leading rusher from a year ago, returning. You bring in 5-star Harlan Berry. You have Trey'Dez Green back. You add Berry and Brown, Nick Anderson. You still got Chris Hilton, Xavier Thomas, Aaron Anderson. You add Bauer Sharp. Like, you can't have that much invested in your offense and be a team that scores 20 points a game. That just can't be the reality. So, yeah, you're going to see offensive staff changes. And you should. Absolutely. What that looks like, I don't know. But you've got to do something different. Like, the status quo isn't working, so you have to change it. But the massive disappointment in this game today is the defense. Going in, and you had a different type of challenge with Pavia and what they do. But they put up 399 on you. They threw it for 160. They ran it for 239. Vanderbilt ran for 239 on you in this football game. They ran 67 plays. You ran 49. You couldn't get off the field. So they possessed the ball for 36 minutes and 33 seconds. They dictated the terms. They dictated the flow, the tempo of the game. It was played at their pace. LSU would have loved to have scored quickly and made this in a bit more of a track meet where Vanderbilt had to force the action. Instead, they were able to be slow and plodding and methodical. Their coaches were better. Their players were better. They outcoached, outplayed, out-executed, out everything. And that's why Vanderbilt won this game 31-24, which, they should have scored at the end there. And it would have been, a 2-score game, which probably should have been. So a massively, massively disappointing outcome for LSU, and it certainly ruins what would have been an epic environment in Tiger Stadium next week with Texas A&M coming in. And now it's fair to say, what does that look like? I don't know. You will know everything you need to know about Brian Kelly, the LSU football program, this team, what commitment, buy-in, whatever they may have next week when LSU plays Texas A&M. Because you're going to have if A&M wins, say, against Arkansas, which I assume they will, they're a good team. But you're going to have likely an undefeated top 5 Texas A&M team coming in. And it's a great opportunity. And literally this is your season now because you've lost twice. So you lose again, all of your playoff goals are gone. Like, this is a go for broke. It's everything now, heretofore. And you get a home game in Tiger Stadium against a top 5 team. Can you rise up and play your best game of the season? And if you can, and all these very talented players play their best, you'll have a chance to win. I don't know that they can. It is fair to mention this was a game where you didn't have Whit Weeks, you didn't have Bernard Gooden, you didn't have Gabe Relaford, you didn't have Jamari Butler. Jack Pyburn was playing limited, obviously, in this game as well. Your defensive front 7, which was supposed to be a great strength of yours, was severely diminished in this football game. And it showed. Even still, you had chances and probably should have won this football game. Let me rephrase that. You had chances to win the football game. And you were a more talented team that could have won this football game. But you didn't. Your plan wasn't good enough. and your execution wasn't good enough, and that falls on coaching, players, and everything all in between. So disappointing that next week won't mean quite as much. It probably won't have the feeling that it otherwise would have. But if the Tigers are going to salvage this season, which I don't believe they will, if they're going to salvage this season, they got to rise up, play their best game of the season next week against Texas A&M and Baton Rouge. And what would have been an epic environment if you had two top 10 teams in that moment. But now LSU certainly will tumble, and vibes are going to be very low for LSU playing Texas A&M next week. Tigers lose to Vanderbilt 31-24. First time Vanderbilt beats LSU since 1990. Hey, do me a favor. Please smash that like button if you would on YouTube. Subscribe to the channel. If you're listening on podcasts, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. We appreciate you for being there with us as always. Drop your comments below, and we'll be here all throughout this week, recapping Vanderbilt, getting you set for Texas A&M, and talking about what is next, whatever that will be for this LSU football team. Appreciate you for being with us here. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day.